In the bygone days of the other life, before the advent of the word, spilling the blood of foes was the honor god. Head takers became acclaimed tribal heroes, earning the merit to wear special cloths and ornaments and live in grand houses. We believe that our gods lived in the various forms of nature, whom we worshipped with unquestioning faith. Then came a tribe of strangers into our primordial territories, armed with only a book and promises of a land called heaven, declaring that our trees and mountains, rocks and rivers were no gods, and that our songs and stories, nothing but tedious primitive nonsense. We listened in confusion to the new stories and too soon allowed our knowledge of other days to be trivialized into taboo. We no longer dared to sing our old songs in worship to familiar spirits of the land or in praise to our legendary heroes. And if we ever told stories, it was to the silent forest, and our songs were heard only by the passing wind in a land swept clean of ancient gods. Thank you.
I'm sure you've all noticed the two beautiful paintings. It's by Tase. We like to call him Tase. His full name, later if you come closer to the portraits, you will see the description of the paintings, so I won't go into that. Right now, actually, let me describe Tase, the artist. He is actually like a recluse. He's like a true artist to my mind. He's a true artist. He's only about his art. He's not about promoting himself. You're not going to find him on Facebook or Instagram or any platform online. He's just quietly in his studios and painting. But people know him now. People really know him because of his hyper-realism, the hyper-realistic paintings that he does. And why I wanted to exhibit his artwork is because, he brings so much realism that you actually feel like, if you look at the headhunter portrait here, he's a Konyak headhunter, and he's a Konyak headhunter because of his facial tattoos. And that was very distinct to the Konyak tribe. Other men, other warriors from other tribes, they used to have their tattoos on their chests, and the placements were more on the body. But it's the Konyaks who had the facial tattoos to signify that they were successful headhunters. Okay, so there's a certain fascination that the outside world have for us Nagas, because they just trace that one lineage, one line, one thread, and say, oh, your ancestors were headhunters. But we were actually so much more. And headhunter, they make it they just kind of sensationalize it and make it like, oh, that kind of thing, I have no words, just sounds for it. But actually, we, also in Parasha's film, as you had people who watched it earlier, will note that actually there was so much of peacekeeping also amongst our communities in Nagaland, and it was just a belief system that the soul resides in the head of a human. That is how the tradition of head taking. It's not like they were after everyone's heads, but it was for very, very specific rituals that they did this head taking tradition. Okay, but moving on to the main subject for today is you see the painting here, very realistic skull of a Mitun that has been displayed outside the Naga hut. And this actually brings us to the subject of the Feast of Merit. There was this tradition in Nagaland, and everyone knows it, we say it, we call it Feast of Merit. So I just want to read a little excerpt from a book. It's a Folklore of Eastern Nagaland book, where a little note is there on the Feast of Merit, and I would like to read from it rather than just speak spontaneously, because it's much more clear if I read it. One very distinct Naga tradition was the hosting of the Feast of Merit by a member of the community who had acquired wealth. This was done with the belief that wealth should be shared and celebrated amongst all, including the poor and the disadvantaged. The whole village rejoiced in dancing, singing, and feasting that sometimes lasted for days and even weeks. And afterwards, the host was awarded with a specially woven cloth. And although his wealth got diminished, the giver of the feast wore the special cloth as a symbol of prestige and began anew to try and build up his wealth once more. The host of a feast of merit was also entitled to decorate the rooftop of his house and put up a wide post in front of his house, the walls of which would be decorated with all the skulls of the mituns and other animals sacrificed for the feast. Sometimes a man put up a monolith instead of a wooden wide post to commemorate the event. So even though this picture is looking rather dark and it's a skull of a living being, we actually want to draw attention to the tradition of the Feast of Merit. But I want to leave you with some food for thought, because Feast of Merit meant that the feast giver had to accumulate, had to hoard, collect all his grains and the animals and for a period of time, and so that later on he would be able to host the whole village. And like I had just read out, it was just not a day's event, sometimes it went on for weeks. So I just want to leave you with some questions, like how do we define merit in this day and age? There's so much of feasting going on, but how do we define merit today? And also, what about this hoarding culture that is also so prevalent in today's age? We just want to accumulate and we just want to hoard. So do we share with the rest of the community and let our wealth be diminished to start all over again, or what? So I just want to leave you with those thoughts. Thank you very much for listening.